Ladies and gentlemen, the dawn of the new season awaits. Welcome to round one of season 9 here in the Midwest Esports League. And tonight, the potential next big things in the Midwest could be revealed and shine on the second brightest stage. A chance for some to strut their stuff, and a chance for others to bounce back and reclaim themselves as Division 1 worthy. And whatever their storyline may be, the Division 2 contenders will be taking on the Jeddah Cornish circuit in Saudi Arabia. 27 corners make up this 6.1 kilometer circuit that's been branded the world's fastest street circuits, a title that's no overstatement, and as over 80% of the lap is taken at full throttle. Hotspot on the call. It's brilliant to be back here. I've been looking forward to this Thursday since, the last time we had a Grand Prix, which was a couple weeks ago now. Hot off the heels of a decently entertaining Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in real life, as a matter of fact. And boy, let me tell you, this season, I probably say this about every season, because I absolutely believe it when I say it. This is going to be one of the most hotly contested Division 2 seasons I think we have seen ever, and probably will ever see. We've got so much talent on this grid, so many different stories coming into play. We've got drivers like El Majacco in the Ferrari, the Season 2 champion in Division 1, who will be said has sporadically been on track on Thursday night since then. In fact, took last season off, and I believe took another couple seasons off to be in the commentary booth. He's back tonight. I would say he's probably the favorite coming into it. You know, one of the drivers we expect to be promoted back into Division 1 pretty quickly. But at the same time, you know, it has been a while since he's been at this competitive level, at least here in the Midwest. What it may be for El Majacco, we'll have to wait and see, because quite frankly, I'm not really sure he's the clear-cut favorite. I think he might be, but it's going to be left up to the season to decide. We've also got a driver in Say, in the McLaren, who, fresh off relegation back from Division 1 last season, a driver unbelievably quick in his own right, and unfortunately, as it is for Division 1, you make too many mistakes, you get spit back down to Division 2, and that's kind of what happened for Say. Some drivers have an easier time adjusting to the big time than others, and it looks like Say maybe just needed another season here in Division 2 to fully restake his claim into Division 1, perhaps next season. It'll be very interesting to see. At the same time, we've also got drivers, like I believe is Adeltonian in here. I was going to bring up him. Maybe not. We've also got drivers like, oh yeah, there is Adeltonian. Adeltonian, another one of those drivers. He's been in Division 2 as long as I can remember, that part's for sure. Many people would think he's peaked. He's been in Division 2 for at least 3, maybe 4 seasons in a row. But on the same side of that, we've got, in the last 3 seasons, he finished 17th, 10th, and then 5th in the driver standings, and last season, he only missed out on promotion to Division 1 by less than 30 points. I will say sometimes, however, for this Adeltonian driver, does he find himself in positions to where he makes it hard for himself to win races. I don't think he's won a Midwest F1 Grand Prix. Can he change that around this season? Because when he's on it, he becomes one of the most consistent drivers on the grid. All he's missing is that clinical thinking ability to put it in the win column. Another driver, Posh Josh, who's making his way back into the pits now, unbelievably quick driver. Oh, and it looks like Josh Sr., 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Travis Scott. He's spun it out, coming out of T27. And he is right in the middle of the track there. That is not good at all for Josh Sr., and he's been disqualified for parking in a dangerous location. Not exactly the start to the season that he would have wanted. Posh Josh, one of those drivers we're talking about, unbelievably quick, finished, I think, a lot worse in the championship standings than his performances showed. Very quick driver. I think a lot of it is if he gets that attendance turnaround, he could very quickly find himself in Division 1. We've got drivers like Electric Blade on a timed lap now, one of the quickest drivers I've seen in a very long time. I think this guy definitely has the potential to go Division 1. We'll have to wait and see, because I tell you what, he is a very exciting up-and-coming driver. Josh Sr., who we just saw unfortunately be disqualified, perhaps it's time for him to come onto the scene. Every once in a while we get these drivers, VTech being one of them, are previous season's Division 2 champion, sometimes they just come out of nowhere and put themselves right on top. Could this be the season for Josh Sr.? Getting more and more consistent by the Grand Prix, he'll be in this as well. So many different stories to follow here in Division 2. But for right now, it's El Majacco currently sitting provisional pole, 129.981. DJ Knickknack not far behind, less than 7/100ths of a second. Electric Blade, he's about half a second off the pace as MMR Hightower has just gone third. MMR Hightower being one of the few drivers we've seen on the medium tires, and I tell you what, that is some great pace to put that thing now fifth. As Adaltonian, I believe, just went third. Jorday went up there as well. MMR Hightower on the mediums, he's not actually put in that bad of a lap. It was Say, who has gone provisional pole, 1:28.597. 1.4 seconds back to El Majacco. I tell you what, that is not a very often said statistic there. That is incredible stuff. As we see, Cynical now has just gone over the line and makes his way into turn one. He finds himself 1.37 behind El Majacco. That puts less than 2/100ths of a second between him and El Majacco, currently sitting third. I believe we do have, that is an Alfa Romeo going slowly there, going through the spoon end of the track of turn 25 and 26. El Majacco could potentially be going for another lap. No, it looks like he's going to be coming into the pits now. He's got an Alpine behind him as well, following his way in. Who's going to be next on our way for time lapse? It may be Helgelin here. It will be Helgelin. Currently 2.283 off the pace. Got the Haas, I believe, it's Posh Josh behind him. Let's actually go along with Posh Josh. This is one of the drivers, again, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this season. It'll be very, very fun to watch. Saudi Arabia, definitely one of the harder tracks on schedule. You know, the old saying we refer to as perhaps Hungary, and I actually start referring to as Zandvoort, as Monaco, Monaco kind of without the barriers. This track, Monaco, but with barriers, but with about 10 times the speed. It's a very, I think, sketchy and demanding race circuit here. Every time we visit here, I recall the story. I think I raced a Thursday division night once. Here at this track, 50% race. I had migraines the rest of the night afterwards. That's how focused you have to be at this circuit. It's going to be, I think it is probably the most mentally demanding circuit on calendar. Because not only is there the ability that you can hit the wall like you'd have at Monaco, you're also around other cars. And you also have the ability to overtake. At Monaco, sometimes you can just sit there and ride around the whole time knowing that you're probably not going to pass people. You just got to keep the car off the walls. Here you got to keep the car off the walls, keep it off of other competitors, and still try to have the ability to make up some ground. So much in play here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. They're quickly becoming one of my favorite tracks on schedule, and I think a lot of people are feeling that way as well. As this track, despite the controversy that it's found itself in recently, I tell you what, it has provided some excellent racing these past couple seasons. As Posh Josh goes P4, 1.37 off the pace. In fact, he's identical on time with that of MMR Cynical at this moment. MMR Cynical put the lap in first, so he has that third position. Identical on time. That is incredible there, to say the least. Second time, actually, we've seen that recently in Division 2. Last time out at Bahrain at the season finale, we also had two cars identical on time, just very similar to that. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. Callie Robb is going to be on a time lap now. 10 minutes to go left in the session. Currently finds himself a second place, 0.8, 0.8 of a second off of Say, who currently sits in pole position. The only driver to be within a second of Say so far. New for Division 2 this year as well. They've kind of, last season we had Division 2 without any assists, similar to that as Division 1. I believe we've got a Williams that's gone off over there. It's Front Runner, who's exiting, I believe that's turn 16, has maybe spun the car around there, unfortunately for him, as he got wing damage as well. It doesn't quite look like it, but that lap is surely over for him, as MMR Cowboy has just gone P2. Am I missing something? Who is this MMR Cowboy? Has somebody changed their name? Because quite frankly, I haven't seen this name before. So this will be quite interesting. Can I just... honestly don't know who this is. Who is MMR Cowboy? I've never seen this name. Grim Reaper? Is it him? No, it's somebody. MMR Cowboy in AlphaTauri for Grim. He's been in the server a while. Is this just a name? He must have changed his name. Honestly, I've never seen this name before. That's my phone breaking. I'm sorry about that. Well, he currently finds himself in second. In front, Cali Rob, I believe, has just completed another lap. However, was not good enough to improve on his previous best. Only finds himself provisional P3. MMR Cynical on an outlap now. Aston Martin driver Posh Josh sits 5th. Majacco in 6th. Once again, Cynical and Posh Josh sitting on identical times at the moment, each of them 1.37 off of provisional pole. The odds of that happening. Cali Rob, I believe, even actually MMR Cynical, I believe this is going to be his time lap coming out here. I could be wrong, but let's go ahead and watch MMR Cynical in the Aston Martin. What does he have to offer? Now, what he's just done there is quite interesting. He has gone over the white line before the start-finish line there. Now, in real life F1, you would have seen this weekend Logan Sargent had a lap time deleted for touching and going over that white line. That is not enforced in this game, so you would expect the drivers to take full advantage of that. Quite frankly, I don't really see the need for it being invalidating track runs. I think it's actually kind of a little ridiculous, isn't it? Very, very cynical part of the track. Cynical, pun intended. Very cynical of the FIA to delete times based on that little infraction. I don't know. I don't make the rules. That's all there is to it. I will say, better news now in the hunt for a provisional pole as Electric Blade finds himself 6/10 of a second off the pace. MMR Cowboy not far behind, only 4/100ths off of his teammate of Electric Blade. El Majaco's just gone 4th. So now it is up to the top 5 within 1 second leader. Make that top 6 as Jorday has just found himself in P6, 0.875 off the pace. So very, very much at least the battle for provisional pole might be up for grabs here. Remember, despite the pace a driver shows in qualifying, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be smooth sailing for them into the race. That's going to be the crucial thing to look out for here, as I believe it's who is that? It's MMR Cynical's just gone across the line, 1:29.356, 0.611, faster than his previous best. Finds himself P5 at the moment. Majacco on his way in, as well as that is MMR Cowboy, I believe, has come in recently. Electric Blade on his way in. So that should mean, with 6 minutes to go in the session, we will be seeing our final round of timed lap attempts here very shortly, and I believe as Cali Rob invalidated on a timed attempt. It almost seems like he has, as he's very quite low in the energy store department there, and he's going to be going into the pits, so we'll have to assume that perhaps he was on a good enough lap, and it's gone awry for him. Now, when I say pretty good, he's 7 seconds off the pace, but a little odd. Jorday on low fuel, as you can see, he's going to have the Haas behind him of Travis Scott, a driver we haven't heard much of so far today. He's invalidated this time to 10, but he's going to have another one next time round. It doesn't look like he's going to be on the pressure of low fuel. So let's see what Travis Scott has to offer here. Currently one of only 4 drivers out on time lap at the moment. No, Travis Scott's going to be coming in. That leaves 3 drivers on timed attempts, or at least that's what the game says. We've got 2 coming out on outlaps now, that being MMR Cowboy as well as Hightower. And I believe behind, is that also the teammate of Frontrunner is out on track. I don't know if that's now, but let's go along with Frontrunner. Might as well. Has not put in a time just yet. So we'll have to assume this is going to be the make-or-break time here for Frontrunner. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the session here for the opening qualifying round of the season. And he has invalidated going through turn 10. As Posh Josh is retired from the session in the pits, currently finds himself 10th. Elgelin now making his way through Sector 3. Tough to tell on how good the lap is so far. I've only caught on to the back end of it. DRS open for Elgelin. To the line he goes, finds himself P8, 129.596. Finds himself .999 outside of provisional pole. That extends the gap from first to eighth, now within that 1 second. Hightower's not far out behind. He'll have to find a couple of tenths here. Bobber Yates not far out either. In fact, I'd say anybody through the top 12 might have, top 13 rather, might have themselves a fair crack at getting within the top 10, getting within that second margin. That's what we're hoping for, at least. I think Frenchie's going to have himself a little bit difficult at time. He is about 2 seconds off the pace. It's not necessarily a gap you want to have to make up here in the final run of the session. Travis Scott back on an outlap now. Got El Majacco on an outlap, and Say, I believe, is he on a timed lap? Yes, I believe he is. Let's go along with our provisional pole sitter of Say for the remainder of this lap. Now through turn 4. Dang, it's so hard to read this track map, man. Every corner, everything's a corner here. Seeming to hold the lines nicely through the corners is Say through sector 1 at the moment. He's actually 5/100ths of a second slower. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the session into the bank corner of turn 13 rather. Turns 16 and 17. This one might cause havoc during the race. We saw a driver spin out here earlier. Electric Blade on an outlap. We'll have to keep an eye on him. MMR Cowboy as well. I'm actually surprised he hasn't been validated through just then. Say it's a purple sector 2, about 9/100ths faster. Making his way now through the spoon. Doesn't know what the spoon does in it, has to be said. Don't track the spoon. It's like he's bent. Say making his way down into turn 27 now. The exit he gets off of this corner might just determine if he improves his gap back to second place any more than he already has. Look at him use every inch of the circuit. It is a 1:28.407. That put, I believe, another 10th back to Electric Blade. Electric Blade, mind you, making his way now through turn 27. Let's see if Electric Blade has anything here. Well, he's actually going to be starting his timed lap now. Electric Blade. Timed lap here. Let's see what he's got in towards turn number 1. It looks like Say has left the session. Oh, and that is an ugly disconnection if that is the case. That is not what we want to see, because he will be a sitting duck off the line. And even worse for that, he's going to be a very much a roadblock for all the drivers behind him. It looks like El Majacco has just managed to go P2, 0.6 of a second off the pace of the leader of Say. Doesn't look like Say is going to be able to make another timed attempt, nor that of El Majacco. That was his final attempt. Electric Blade now, almost a 10th and a half better through sector 1 as he makes his way through the banked corner of turn 13. Exits. Let's see how he does. He's held it quite tight, I would say. Usually you'd see drivers go right up to the wall and exit of the corner. He's not done that. Some of our Cowboys retired drivers into the pits now. As it's seen, Electric Blade, probably the last of the immediate favorites to be taking provisional pole here. Let's see what he's got. Is he going to be coming up to the sector 2 timing line now? Here he is, 0.3 of a second faster. Making his way now towards the spoon. DRS open here for Electric Blade in the AlphaTauri. In towards turn 27, he's going to have a little bit of traffic exiting the corner. Going to have to wait and see. Time has elapsed. Now Say on provisional pole at the moment. Electric Blade, does he have the opportunity to the line? Electric Blade, and he goes second. Just outside half a second. It's a 1:28.936. Half a second. Separating himself and pole position. Jourdain, I believe, is next up. Oh, but his fuel indicator is flashing. I'm not sure he'll have the opportunity. Next up, the Mercedes of Cali Robb, who, by the way, that says 7.5 tenths faster. Let's see what he's got. MMR Cynical's on his lap as well. Definitely look out for him. Cali Rob to the line now. What does he have? He puts himself pole! Cali Rob 187. It's a 128. 194 puts 0.2 of a second back to the McLaren Essay. And I have to say, out of nowhere is Cali Rob putting that thing on provisional pole. But here comes MMR Cynical out of the final corner. Oh, I tell you what, it looks like he might be just a slight bit off the pace. 28.786. He's improved his best by almost 0.6 of a second. Jordan making his way through now, and I believe that is going to do it for the qualifying session. It's Cali Rob on pole at the death. Say had a brilliant effort, and after leading the entirety of the session, loses it on the final qualifying attempt by the Mercedes of Cali Rob 187, and it's a 0.2 of a second gap between first and second, and it's 1 second within the top 8. This is going to be one very hotly contested Grand Prix, that part is for sure. So here it is then, your starting lineup for the opening round of the Division 2 season here in Saudi Arabia. It's Cali Rob on pole, Say in second, Cynical third, Electric Blade fourth, El Majacco in his return to racing comes home fifth, Jordan is sixth, Frontrunner seventh, MMR Cowboy eighth, ninth is Hightower, 10th Helgelin, 11th Bobbert Yates, 12th is Posh Josh, 13th Adel Tony, and 14th DJ Nick Knack, 15th Travis Scott, Frenchie in 16th, and unfortunately for Josh Sr. had a spin coming out of turn 27, and the game disqualified him. He will start P17 back of the grid for Josh Sr. Not the most ideal day for that Red Bull team, but I tell you what, Cali Rob put in a wonderful qualifying effort there, and let's just wait and see if he'll be able to hold the lead into turn 1. So here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, 20 seconds away from the opening formation lap of Season 9 here in the Midwest F1 League. By goodness, it's been one hell of a ride so far, and almost our 10th season. That'll be definitely a fun one to look out for sure. As we begin the formation lap, I'd like to remind you, Midwest F1 brought to you by Raise Energy and Epos Audio. So, let's go ahead and look at the tires. I'm fairly certain you know where this one's going. It's going to be mediums and hards all the way down the grid. In fact, that's exactly what it is. We've got the top 4 starting on the mediums. El Majacco in 5th. Typically, one of the drivers you will see start on the off-compounded tire, and that's exactly what he's done. He starts on the hards, front runner, Hightower, Helgelin, Posh Josh, and Travis Scott, making up those who have elected to start on the hard compound tires. I would say it's an even split, but that's not really true. It looks like the majority in favor of the medium tires. Those medium tires will last you between 11 and 14 laps according to the game, and the hards will last you between 14 and 20. So that will be definitely something interesting to look for. Do we perhaps have a, would we perhaps have an early safety car? It's certainly possible. Should we hang with the telemetry off? I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of like the less crowded. Well, nah, I don't know. I like the less crowded screen, that part's for sure. And plus the, well, I guess to look at the battery percentages, I guess that's why we'll keep it on. But Cali Rob here, at the death in the qualifying session, was able to take pole position. Say is going to be the driver I'm looking out for here. Does his relegation to Division 1 spell a new beginning or a continued end and continued downfall for Say? That's going to be the big question. I don't know how hard he took it, his relegation from Division 1. Some drivers take it harder, some drivers take it easier than others. We'll have to wait and see what happens with him. I'm hoping he has a good rebound season because he is quick when he's on his bag. El Majacco here returning to full-time action. You'd expect him to be promoted right soon, but I tell you what, 5th position on the grid. Not necessarily a position he's used to starting in. He's got 4 unbelievably quick drivers behind him. It'll be really fun to watch for El Majacco. I'm also going to be looking out for Posh Josh back there. Electric Blade 93X going to be another driver I'm keeping my eye on. We'll have to wait and see for sure. But the important thing here, as it looks now, look at this. We got the Aston Martin and the of Cynical and Say like coming together on the formation lap. That was a slight bit odd. But, yeah. There you go, stop strategy. Mediums to hards, 11 to 15. It looks like Hightower and Posh Josh has been disqualified for lining up on the grid incorrectly. Animal on so much. Lights coming on here, perhaps in Saudi Arabia for the start of Season 9. There they are. 3, 4, and then eventually 5. It is lights out, and away we go. And I tell you what, Say has gotten a much better start off to the inside. He completely clears Cali Robb into the first corner. It has to be said, that one was probably the best case scenario for that McLaren as they fan out behind him. The AlphaTauri, I believe that was of MMR Cowboy, has been shuffled down the order. Lots of shuffling about back there towards the second half of the grid. And it looks like, oh, that Williams is going to go wide, especially the Red Bull. Oh, it's the Haas of Posh Josh. No, and he's gone around. Thankfully, I don't see any wing damage, but by goodness, that one was not a very good start to his Division 2 campaign. But for the most part, other than that, it looks like everybody's gotten away all okay. Bobber Yates here might have a move on Frontrunner heading into turn 13. Frontrunner, by the way, on those the hard compound tires, he might be a sitting duck in the beginning. Bobber Yates just had to lift as he perhaps had oversteer into the corner, and now Frontrunner might make a move on Jordan, but at the top of the grid, it is Cali Robb, who's 4/10 of a second away from Say. And I tell you what, it's not necessarily looking like it's getting all that much closer, except now as we head down towards turn 22 and 23. We'll have to wait and see how this one comes about here. El Majaco, despite being on the off-compounded tires, is falling back of the top 3 as Cali Robb right up alongside the McLaren here as they head towards turn 27. Is he going to outbrake him around the outside? Certainly looks like he will. I think Say may have had contact with the inside wall. He might lose position to Electric Blade as well, and I certainly think he is. So Say goes from the lead to third, just in the final corner of that lap. My goodness me. And it looks like MMR Cynical and Frontrunner side by side into the first corner. The Aston Martin's got the preferred line at least into the second corner. He'll have to pull away, but it looks like the Alpine had a peek down there. Whoa, what was that? And suddenly, oh, that's a big incident. I think we've just had, my goodness me, we've just had, I believe, the Alpine. That car launched into the air. It was the Williams of Hightower, I believe. It was one of those drivers. Perhaps it was Frenchie. Somebody, and I mean somebody, just went a solid 5 feet into the air just then. Not to mention the Aston Martin of Cynical, who really got yeeted across the circuit then. I mean, really, that was one of the harder crashes I've seen, and I don't think he's picked up a lick worth of damage either. That's something to behold for... Oh no, I don't know what just happened. That's not good. Okay, I'm getting mighty worried now. It's the second time in mere seconds that the PlayStation went to a blue screen temporarily. It looks like it's kept the recording, knock on wood. DRS open now. Jordan, I want to say closing in on Majaco. He's within 0.6 of a second. Not exactly closing that gap any. Oh, and he's made a hash of turns 9 and 10 there, and also 11 for that matter. Rogelin might be closing in on Bobber Yates here. El Majaco might be having a move at Say, who I believe at this stage is the robot of Say. I could be wrong, but I think it said he left just moments ago. Jordan in pursuit of the Ferrari ahead of El Majaco. Look and see who's up and what. Cali Robb was able to maintain the lead. Electric Blades managed to start a third, and he's made up, fourth, and he's made up 2 spots there. Is that right? No, I'm not quite sure. It says +2. I'm not really sure. Say, down 1 spot. Looks like here we might just be having a 3-car battle here. El Majaco to Say. Jacko's going to try it around the outside. Jordan's looking in pursuit. Jacko's gone really wide through the corner. I think, has he just hit the outside wall as the Ferrari? It certainly looked like he did. Oh, I tell you, I tell you what, he's not missing any wing. But here he goes now, Say down to the inside. It's going to be a brilliant overtake in the first corner if he makes it happen, and he does. Jordan still in pursuit. He might have himself a look here shortly. He's got the 2 cars battling ahead of him. All the while, as Cowboy picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, all the while, it looks like, oh, if we got a yellow flag back there, I believe we do. It's MMR Cowboy spun it, coming out of turn 2. And that is not a very good section of the track to be spun in. Once again, a lot of blind corners on this circuit. You don't want to be spinning it around. Oh, and I believe that's Adoltonian. No, it's the Red Bull of Josh Sr., who spun it around. He's missing his end plate on the left-hand side. of the front wing. And I tell you what, his day was not going too bad until then, despite the qualifying session he had. He was up a couple of positions, and now I'm afraid that one is not going to end well for the Red Bull drivers. I believe Helgeland and Hightower were just at it there a moment ago. Helgeland went wide, Hightower was low, and it looks like Helgeland's gotten away with that one for now. Here comes Helgeland. Does he have the move at Bobbert Yates into a 23, I believe this is? 22, 23, it's all the same. DRS open here for the Ferrari. Bobbert Yates is in quite the hole. He's going to have to duck down to the inside going into turn 27. It looks like Jordi and Jacko were side by side. Helgeland is going to have that move around the outside, and it didn't pan out, unfortunately. It was a good look. DRS open. Meanwhile, Elma Jacko, is he going to be pressured from Jordi behind? Oh, I'm not sure he will. Not this time, at least. Does Helgeland have anything for Bobbert Yates? Oh, not this time either. It does look like Frenchie and Travis Scott battling it out there, coming out of 27. Travis Scott's gotten away nicely. However, Frenchie's got DRS behind into the first corner. Let's see what happens. It looks as if to the inside goes Frenchie, and I think he's going to have that spot, although Travis Scott's got the preferred line through the second corner. And Frenchie, for now, is still going to have him. Is it going to stay that way by the time they get to turn 4? Travis Scott's going to pull ahead, although he does go off the circuit. Will Frenchie be able to make another move? It doesn't look like he will. Oh, that was a spin. DJ Knickknack on the Alfa Romeo, thankfully, he's not got that much traffic in the way. He's going to wait for the Haas and the Alpine, who are racing for spots there. And DJ Knickknack has been disqualified. And that has to be said. Very poor excuse for disqualification there. You don't want to pull into traffic. And unfortunately, he's absolutely done the right thing. He's waited. He's had to go backwards a little bit to spin the car around in the game, unjustly taking him out of contention there. That was a really poor excuse for disqualification, if you ask me. Here's Jordi battling Majacco here. Jordi's gone wide. He's not had a good exit of 27. Had to steer himself away from hitting the outside retaining wall. And El Majacco is going to be pulling away rather easily after that one. Jordi's doing well to keep up to the Ferrari ahead. It looks like, speaking of Ferrari, Helgeland maybe wanted to have a peek at Hightower there. He's a bit far behind. Can't fault him for trying, though. Electric Blade outside of a 2nd and 7/10 on our leader of Cali Robb, who that gap, has to be said, has not been getting any closer since Cali Robb retook the lead of the Grand Prix. He is absolutely pulling away from Electric Blade. I think it might stay that way unless some sort of safety car happens. Mind you, we still have the pit window coming up as well. In about 6 laps' time, we have a yellow flag, and it's Pot Josh. Oh, and is that one in a bad spot? Well, that is a carbon copy of Mick Schumacher's incident in 2022, and we have a full safety car on track. Absolute carbon copy of Mick Schumacher's incident. And now, moments ago when I said, if there's no safety car, Cali Robb might walk away with it. Well, I tell you what, I apologize for the commentary curse, but that has just thrown an absolute monkey wrench into the plan of the Mercedes there, and has provided Electric Blade an additional attempt to reclaim and reclose the gap to the leader ahead. I still think it's a bit early for pit stops here. The hards will last 20 laps at the maximum, so you might be able to make the move now. It looks like that's going to be the case for Cali Robb. Electric Blade follows suit. Say will as well. Jacko is coming in. Bold decision for Elma Jacko, who, remember, started on the hard tires. As you can see, we have, I believe, 2 drivers who have stayed out. It's Helgeland and Hightower. The Ferrari takes the lead. The Williams not far behind. I believe we just had a wing change there for somebody. I'm not sure who it was. Looks like perhaps we've just had one for the Alfa Romeo. Hard to tell. Seems like perhaps he's dropped a spot. Tough to say. Very interesting turn of events there. I'm surprised Elma Jacko especially has come in. He's come in for the mediums. 14 laps, says the game on the medium tires. He is a Division 1 driver. I know he can stretch the tire length. I don't know. That is a really big risk there for the Ferrari driver. But then again, he does know much more than I do about driving a virtual Formula One car. So I trust him. I trust his decision. On to the 7th lap of the Grand Prix now. 6 completed here in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to step aside while the safety car sorts itself out. The safety car will be finding its way in this time by. We had late pit stops there for MMR Frenchie in the Alpine and front runner in the Williams. Back there currently sitting 14 to 15. Oh, and that says El Majacco has just left the session. El Majacco, one of the few but talented Australian drivers we see here in the Midwest F1 League, or Midwest Esports League, actually. But, yeah, so sometimes his connection will do that to you. Honestly, I understand it. It's, you know... Oh, and that's not good for him. Oh, and it looks like front runners let Frenchie go by as Hightower... looks like he's been shuffled out of position there. I was looking to see El Majacco. His robot has pitted him and is now 15th. Not ideal. Helgeland has the lead of the Grand Prix. This is the battle we want to watch, though. It's between Electric Blade and Cali Robb. Helgeland, the leader of the Grand Prix so far. Cali Robb in second. Cali Robb will inherit the Grand Prix lead once more once Helgeland decides to go in and pit. It's Electric Blade, who will be battling Cali Robb directly for the lead. Right now, Helgeland is going to have one heck of a time trying to defend that Mercedes super quick behind. Looks like Say might have a move here at Hightower eventually. It's tough to tell. I tell you what, Say has had a much better time through turn 17 than the Williams of Hightower ahead. He's within 0.2 of a second. No DRS for some time yet. Safety cars only just came in. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like Bobbert Yates might be making a move on Jordan behind very shortly. Still a little too far away to make that maneuver official yet, but here's Say. Will he have a move on Hightower ahead down into turn 27? He's going to visit the inside line. Does he have it? Still side by side, and assuming he got the better exit of the corner, which he did, Say has made that overtake happen. But now, the pass for the lead. It's Helgeland going around the right-hand side of... Cali Robb going around the right-hand side of Helgeland. It looks like now Electric Blade wants to strike as well. Electric Blade has been caught up by the Ferrari, and now Helgeland will still have to defend. Electric Blade was side by side there for a moment, but that has thrown a heaping wrench into the plans of Electric Blade, who really needed to get past the Ferrari there, and unfortunately for him, that's not exactly taking place. We've got MMR Cowboy, who has spun it around here, coming out of, what is this, turn 2. He's coming out of turn 2. He spun the car around. We'll need to get that car back underway quite quickly. This game is not afraid to disqualify you if you're sitting there. Oh, big wiggle there for the AlphaTauri, and my goodness, oh, and I think he's collected the McLaren in front of him, and he has. Oh, and that is terrible luck for the McLaren driver, and I tell you what, we just caught onto it. Electric Blade had gotten massive wiggle of oversteer coming out of turn 13, and he collected the McLaren of Say as well. Hugely disappointing luck for both those drivers, both on pace for really good days. Electric Blade falls to 11th, plus the penalty for the severe collision, which he did get from hitting Say, inadvertently as it was. It is still penalty worthy. As Say drops down to 13th, but thankfully I don't believe either of the drivers have wing damage. We just take a look at the McLaren, doesn't have any. I don't believe the AlphaTauri has any, despite the hit he did take, and no, he doesn't. Cynical now down to the inside of Travis Scott, heading for turn 1, and it looks like Cynical might have this one easy. He's on the hard tires. He's going to get around Travis Scott there. Oh, he's almost gone off track, and now I believe Frontrunner wants in on this as well, within a 10th and a half. Huge close battle here within these couple of drivers, as it looks like towards the top end of the grid we've got Jordan might be hunting down Hightower, making their way now through turn 12 to the outside goes Frontrunner. and he's going to have that one quite easily. Nicely done there from front runner, makes his move around the outside. Meanwhile, Josh Sr. has rebounded up to P10 as Cowboy picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I believe Josh Sr. is on 5 seconds. That was for speeding into the pit lane. Electric Blade on 5 for the collision with Say, which we witnessed last time round. As it looks like now, I believe, is that the AlphaTauri of Cowboy? Yes, it is. Not ideal for him. As we drop back, it looks like front runner still trying to put the move on Cynical. It looks like next up in the crosshairs of Josh Sr. will be Travis Scott. As they make their way through the spoon portion of the track, I don't think Travis Scott's going to put out much of a fight here to the Red Bull of Josh Sr. as he will get around the outside in towards turn 27, puts himself up into 9th. Assuming he does eventually negate that 5-second penalty, it will be a very good rebound day for Josh Sr., who started a very not-so-good day initially. After he was disqualified in the qualifying session for spinning out coming out of turn 27, and he found himself perpendicular across the circuit with really nowhere to go, and the game told him, nope, you've parked there for too long, we don't care that you're trying to rejoin safely, you're out of here, and that's exactly what happened. Looks like front runner might be making a move at Cynical here shortly as they make their way through 11 and 12. No DRS here. Remember, if you do remember the F1 2021 game, they had inadvertently put a DRS zone before the banked curve of turn 13. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of liked it there, but yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. Front runner now. Oh, I tell you what, I think he had a go at Cynical prior to that. He's not gotten the best go through turn 16 and 17. I think the Aston Martin had definitely had a better go through that section of the track than the Williams giving chase to the Aston Martin ahead. It looks like Electric Blade down to the inside of Travis Scott, and he's making that one happen. Somewhat unusual part of the track to make that move happen, and Electric Blade has done just that. That one was, despite the 5-second penalty he's got, that one might be a very well highlight reel worthy overtake there from Electric Blade. 0.5 of a second, the gap between Hightower and Bobber Yates. Bobber Yates currently sitting on the podium. Can we look and see who has stopped? It looks like Helgelin and Hightower, the only 2 cars on track who have yet to pit. Mind you, Helgelin and Hightower, they both started on the hard compound tires. That takes them up to 13 laps so far. The hards will last up to 20 laps, says the game. So they've got about, they've got a decent amount of time before it actually comes back and the tires start to go off the cliff. They're definitely not as grippy as they were, say, 5 laps ago, but they're definitely not bad yet as front runner down to the inside is Cynical side by side. Out of 13, beautiful racing this between the Williams and the Aston Martin in towards 16 and 17, and the Williams had the advantage, and he was able to get the spot. Oh, and then he spun it! Oh, and that... Well, I've really no idea how that's happened, as he just caught the oversteer coming off the corner. After a very, very good overtake from the Williams driver, I'm afraid he's gone spinning out of contention there. That one, very tough to watch for front runner, but it looks like now Hightower's just gotten around Bobber Yates into 27. Callie Robb sets the fastest lap, 1:32.199. 0.2 of a second between Bobber Yates and Hightower, as it looks like, I believe Helgelin's just coming to the pits ahead. Here comes Bobber Yates. He's looking for the move. Jorde's in behind, around the outside, in towards turn 2 is Bobber Yates. He's had the preferred line going in towards turn 2, and he's done it well. He's taken the spot. Jorde in pursuit. I believe he shortly might be having a look at this battle as well, because the more these 2 cars ahead of him fight, the more of an opportunity he'll have to gain some spots. And mind you, he's on those medium tires as well. Once again, oh no! Good God almighty, it's almost like I'm playing with a voodoo doll here with how much I'm cursing people, and he's reversing. Oh my goodness, that one. You know, all credit to Jorde. He had the right idea trying to get himself off the circuit, but he has really impeded the progress of Say there. And quite frankly, I think that one might be able to go down as a somewhat of an unsafe rejoin because he's reversed on the circuit. Now, I don't know if it was error by him that caused him to go wide, or it was that of Jordan in the racing line. It's tough to tell. I'll give myself 5 seconds to throw in a replay. Hopefully I remember to add that in. Tough to tell. I think Say might have a go with the stewards about that one later. He might have himself a fair case as well. Tough to tell. Innocent until proven guilty, but that one looked a little sketchy even from the comms box. Electric Blade might be having a move here at Say shortly. Remember, Electric Blade has the 5-second penalty for the collision between these two earlier on. Inadvertent as it was for Electric Blade, caught oversteer coming off of 13 and clipped the side of the McLaren, and the game delivered a 5-second penalty for him. So this is a very interesting full circle moment between those two. Bobber Yates and Hightower now. Now Hightower within a second of Bobber Yates ahead, but mind you, Hightower on those 15-lap old hard tires, not really going to have much grip left to use. As you can see, he's already starting to fall back outside of the reach of Bobber Yates. The gap now outside of a second, which prior to turn 13 was within, I believe it was 7 or 8 tenths. Tough to tell. Grid very much so starting to spread themselves out here. The Electric Blade, actually I believe it's Travis Scott picks up a 3-second penalty. Hightower back within a second, but it's Josh Sr. and Adol Tony and the Red Bull team who had a very, very horrible, terrible, not so good start to their day, now find themselves P4 and P5. And I believe they might just be able to make it to the end on tires as well. If you have a yellow flag at the back, it looks like, is it perhaps the Ferrari of Jacko? It's, I don't think so, but I couldn't tell from there. I think the two Red Bulls right now have to avoid the fighting at all costs. They have to just put themselves in a good position to score some very much needed points. Remember, Red Bull, the reigning, defending, undisputed Constructors champions last season in Division 2. Adol Tonian being one of the drivers. I believe it's Josh Sr. as well, if I'm to be mistaken. Let me go ahead and look at that. It's a little bit of an odd thing in the comments box. You really do have to kind of reset yourself every once in a while. No, it was VTech that was the teammate with Adol Tonian last year. Josh Sr. Found himself in the McLaren. Josh Sr. now finds himself part of the Red Bull camp. And I tell you what, he's putting on a damn good display for him so far. After starting P17, he might have himself a very good points haul here today. Yellow flag. And it's the Alfa Romeo of Jordan. That is a lot of... Oh, no! My goodness me, and I'm hoping that... Oh. I'm not quite sure if Jacko was in the car. We just witnessed an on-track DNF there from Jordan, who backed into the path of Elma Jacko. And I'll bet my hats that the stewards will be having a look at that one. That one, not only the retirement on track, that was a very unsafe rejoin from the racing line there by Jordan. And look at the Red Bull team now. They overtook each other not so long ago, and now giving each other DRS back and forth. Fun racing here between the two Red Bull drivers, as Adol Tonian and his teammate of Josh Sr. putting together a solid display so far. It looks like, at the moment, just to the naked eye, they will be scoring the most out of any of the constructors so far. We'll get Kelly Robb in the Mercedes, who I don't believe had a teammate tonight. Bobber Yates in the Alpine, who is teammate of MMR Frenchie P11. Hightower in the Williams, his teammate of Frontrunner 12. Yeah, I would definitely give the advantage to Red Bull here, assuming that Josh Sr. can do his best to not lose too many positions with the 5-second penalty he's been given via the game. That being, once again, for speeding into the pit lane. It looks like, yeah, Elma Jacko on his way in. Now, we didn't see any wing damage on the camera angle, but I could definitely tell you there was some there for sure, as that one was quite the hefty impact that he took. I'm actually surprised he didn't DNF from that because he went straight on. Hightower, 3 seconds of penalty for multiple warnings. So Hightower sitting on 3, Josh Sr. sitting on 5. Electric Blade on 5, Travis Scott on 3. So the grid whittled down to 13 drivers now. MMR Cynical might be having a move at Adaltonian here. How much of a team game does Adaltonian play? How much does he block this Aston Martin driver? That's going to be the big question. Josh Sr., mind you, once again, up 13 spots. Undoubtedly driver of the day so far. Cynical down to the inside. Oh, and that's contact! And the Red Bull of Adaltonian goes wide, and he also loses the position to the McLaren. And that, as well, I'd have to think would be looked at by the stewards. Side by side into turn 1, and I think I think he's let Adaltonian have the spot back. Or something. Perhaps he's made a mistake because suddenly Say is now behind the Red Bull. Side by side into the corner. Perhaps did Cynical lock up into the corner? Really tough to tell. It looked like it was starting out okay, and then suddenly Adaltonian was pushed wide. Thankfully, I don't think Adaltonian has much damage. None that I can see, at least, which is good news for him. As we're along with Hightower now, 0.6 of a second back to Bobbert Yates. Mind you, this overtake won't matter much. He's got 3 seconds of penalty to negate. And further back, it looks like Say and Adaltonian once more as the helicopter takes us over into the spoon section of the track. 0.2 of a second behind. It looks like Say might have a move to the outside here through turn 26, down to the outside, in towards turn 27. Adaltonian on the inside. Who's going to get the better acceleration? And Say has taken Adaltonian around the outside as Hightower on his way in. Was Hightower one of those drivers who had 19-lap-old hard tires, and on go the softs for MMR Hightower? Now, mind you, those soft tires will only last between 5 to 7 laps, so that's a little bit of a bold move. He's going to take a temporary, unbelievably quick pace at the beginning of the stint, and by the end of the race, those things will certainly be off the cliff. Did the blue screen thing again. We do pick up this battle with Say behind the Cynical. They make their way through the DRS section, the snaky DRS section, turns 18, 19, 20, 21, and eventually into 22, where they are now. Who gets the better exit here? That's going to determine their successes through the spoon. Looks like Say might have a fair run here. The Aston Martin dives to the inside, and it looks like Say is going to have him around the outside in towards turn 27, provided he can get the better acceleration. Wow, it's a good fight there from Cynical, still on the outside, and I think Say will have that one eventually. Yes, he does. Nicely done from Say. He does not have DRS, however, and now Cynical, will he have the opportunity into turn 1? I think he may have wanted to. Say kind of block that outside line, and unfortunately for Cynical, was not able to make it happen. Now, this is the interesting thing I'm looking at here. Currently, Josh Sr. sitting on 5 seconds of penalties, has 5.5 seconds again. Oh, that's a big hit into the wall for Cynical. But currently, as it stands, Josh Sr. will keep his podium. To say right now, 5.7 seconds behind the Red Bull of Josh Sr. Remember the penalty of Josh Sr., 5 seconds, half a second to the good. Adaltonian will be looking at a moment to strike here on the Aston Martin of Cynical, as he had a huge collision with the inside retaining wall. I believe it was going through, whether it was turn 5 or turn 6, one of the two. It was actually turn 4, I think. He hit the inside of the corner. It's a corner that you're really tempted to cut, and if you cut it too much, it does bite back. And I think we've seen that there with the Aston Martin. Does he have wing damage? I would assume he does, although the game, once again, not really showing any visible damage. Yep, nothing to report there, which is surprising. He's hit that wall a ton. Here's Helgelin around the outside of Electric Blade for P7 as they head into turn 27. And yeah, I think he's going to have that one quite easily. Electric Blade still behind. I tell you what, it's not been a very ideal day for Electric Blade. Really had himself a great starting position, as well as absolutely the potential to win the Grand Prix here today. But since then, it's been all Cali Robb, and unfortunately for Electric Blade, is really going to have a back foot on the start to this championship. While you got Bobbert Yates, who at the moment sits P2, 15-lap old hards. Josh Senior, who's got 4/10 of a second to the good on keeping the podium. If he keeps the podium or not, it'll be a brilliant day for him, as either way, he started P17, and he'll find himself, at this moment, guaranteed in the top 5. Brilliant stuff for him. Here's Helgeland now, closing in on Adaltonian ahead. We'll look and see just once more. Adaltonian up 7 spots, Josh Senior up 14. Very good day for the Red Bull team. Good day for Bobbert Yates as well, up 9. Frenchie up 6, Travis Scott up 4. Unfortunately for Jacko, he's down 8, and he's had an absolute calamity of a race here today. Has very much not been able to escape the bad luck. It definitely hit some harder than others, and I tell you what, it's hit Majacco a ton today. Here's Helgeland down to the inside on Adaltonian as they find their way into turn 27. Helgeland looks like he's going to have this one pretty much wrapped up to a T. Adaltonian's gone very wide coming out of 27 there. GRS open for Helgeland as well. And Adaltonian is not going to have an ability to strike back, I'm afraid. He's pulled off far behind, and now Helgeland might be able to make a move at Cynical here as well. Adaltonian now, 3 seconds of time penalty. I don't believe he'll be losing any spots with the time penalty. His Electric Blade behind is 5 seconds. I believe Hightower's got another 3 as well, yeah, so we're going to have to go ahead and assume... Oh, whoa, hang on just a minute. Cali Robb is spun, coming out of turn 13. We saw the yellow flags, and thankfully for his sake, he's not lost that much time. I will say he's lost about 6 seconds of lead now. But by goodness, that could have been a lot worse. A small hiccup for Cali Robb. He's really got to keep this one back down now. And hopefully he hasn't overheated his tires, because if he's overheated his tires, he will have another incident in a very short amount of time. Helgeland down to the inside on Cynical through the winding Sector 2 GRS zone. And he's going to have it even before turn 22. Very nice there as Safe picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So it looks like Helgeland will be able to take over that 4th spot, and it looks like at the moment Josh Senior will be keeping the podium as well. And speaking of the podium, it looks like he might be having a move here shortly at Bobbert Yates. Within half a second. Now naturally it's not really going to mean that much considering the 5 seconds that Josh Senior does have. But I tell you what, Josh Senior, one of those drivers I said at the beginning of the broadcast, definitely keep your eye on. He's flown under the radar at times, but when he's performing at his best, he's one of the most consistent drivers on the grid, and this is exactly the start to a season that he would want. Cynical 6.5 of a second behind Helgeland. Lap and a half to go here in Jeddah. This is where Cali Robb had that incident last time by. You could see, I believe that is a fair bit of graining on the rear tires. On the right front, as you can see as well. How long has he been on these tires? Yes, 17 laps. So he's caught this at a good point. The front runner, unfortunately for him, has spun it around coming out of turn 2, and now is driving backwards. And I tell you what, he's going to get disqualified for that if he doesn't get it around quite quickly. Yeah, there he goes. Not ideal for front runner. Finding himself P12, and the spin not been an ideal start to his season 9 campaign either. Cynical still within 0.7 of a second on Helgeland here. Now starting to fall back a little bit. You can see the graining on both tires as well. My goodness me. Those tires are absolutely beaten to death. Final lap of the Grand Prix for Cali Robb, a driver who has really dominated all day today, ever since he took provisional pole with literally less than 2 minutes remaining in the session, as Bobbert Yates and Josh Senior battling for the 2nd spot here. Josh Senior really doesn't need to be this aggressive, it has to be said. Looks like he'll be keeping at least the 3rd spot. Unless does Bobbert pick up a penalty? Well, still won't matter, will it? Because he'll still have 2 seconds to the good. Yeah, so I think Josh Senior should just carry this one home and be happy with the podium, perhaps. That's what I'm going to say. As Travis Scott picks up 3 seconds for corner cutting, that puts him up to 9 seconds. But Cali Robb, as we were saying, has really had this race all to himself today, minus the safety cars. It looks like that's Travis Scott. Oh, and Travis Scott's got a puncture. Yeah, and he's taken those medium tires beyond their acceptable length. As you can see, I don't think he's ran over anything, and you can see the heavy graining on the right front as well. Travis Scott with the puncture there, and he's going to have to limp that car home. But it's Cali Robb coming out of the final corner, and he will win the opening round of the Division 2 Season 9, and he wins it by some margin as well, 13.5 seconds back to Josh Sr., who will cross the line second. He'll fall back with the penalty he does have, so it'll be Bobbert Yates, second place, and Josh Sr. rounding out the top 3. And it looks like he's picked up another 5 seconds for an unserved penalty. Oh, well, that I guess not. Maybe that's just the game saying he didn't pit for the 5 seconds. Yeah, that's probably what it is. So Josh Sr. 3rd, Helgeland 4th, Senegal 5th, Say 6th, Adeltonian 7th, Electric Blade unfortunately falls down to 8th, Hightower 9th, Frenchie 10th, Frontrunner 11th, and Travis Scott, well, I think he'll be finishing behind Majacco at this point. Yeah, he's sliding off the circuits. Yeah, not very ideal. And speaking of unideal, it's been a very not good day for El Majacco between the disconnecting and the incidents he did find himself in, none of which were his fault, by the way. Sheer calamity of bad luck, and unfortunately for Jacko, this is not the start to the Division 2 campaign he wanted. So Travis Scott has put in some serious pace to a car that's only got 3 usable tires. Kind of impressive, actually. Don't see punctures too often in this game. It's very fun to look at, this guy. And it's Cali Robb dominating in Saudi Arabia. So after it's all said and done here in a beautiful Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, it's Cali Robb in first, Bobbert Yates second, Josh Sr. and third driver of the day for him as well. Helgeland 4th, Senegal 5th, Say 6th, Adeltonian 7th, Electric Blade 8th, Hightower 9th, 10th is Frenchie, 11th is Frontrunner, 12th is Jacko, and rounding out the field, P13 is Travis Scott. Unfortunately for Jordan, Cowboy, Posh Josh, and DJ Knickknack, they were not able to finish out the Grand Prix. And next week, well, it's going to be El Majacco's home Grand Prix. Once again, he's one of the very few but very talented Australians in Midwest F1, and I'm sure he will be absolutely chuffed heading to Albert Park Circuit next week. Hopefully he can rebound, and hopefully Cali Robb can put on another amazing display like he has done tonight. Hotspot, thank you for joining us this week in Division 2. We'll see you next time.